Hello, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. And here we are on this day of where we are now declared to be under semi-martial law of some kind or another. The Nevada governor abruptly announced last night a ban on commercial activity that exceeded anything even the mayor of Reno had imposed on the citizens of Reno.
And de Blasio was prepared to do effectively the same thing in New York.
Yeah. Yes. And it was very unilateral. There's mass confusion. We weren't sure whether this was going to be the last broadcast of Talking Truth to Power for a while, but our erstwhile owner there, he says we're going to continue, and the owners of the mall are saying that they're going to continue. So most of the shops in Reno Town Mall have closed, and the Washoe County libraries are closing. So you won't be able to go there and hang out. So keep your social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, I don't think the mayors can, at least in New York, impose such an edict on the population without the governor's approval. Isn't that how it works?
I think
I think he can suggest it, but it has to come from Cuomo.
Right. And the thing is, here in Washoe County was quarterbacked by Mayor Shiv's. Is that her name? I call her Shiv. That's what she's given us. But, Sparks did not want to do it, and Washoe County said they did. She claimed that Washoe County told her to do it, and Washoe County denied that they told her to do it. And so here we are.
Where are we exactly?
Yeah, that's a good question. If we can stay open next week, and we sure hope we can, we'll be happy to take input from public health officials and public officials like the sheriff. If they want to call in and make announcements, that's fine with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
but we are media.
Yes, we are.
They can't shut us down.
We're essential.
Yeah, we are. We always believed that.
Yeah, so they have to give us a key to the door or something.
That's
dog,
right.
The dog will come in the doggy under the doggy door.
That's right. Crawl in here on our hands and knees, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go away.
So last night, not last night we had the Biden massacre continues as he, like Sherman marching through Georgia, he wiped poor Bernie out in all three primaries that were held.
Which was pretty much expected. I don't think anybody was surprised by that outcome.
No. The debate was interesting because, the idea of having a debate.
Oh, okay.
Social distancing and no audience. I mean, for the first time, it was actually a debate. They got to actually talk to each other.
It had some decorum and some legitimate talking points. And
Elizabeth Warren wasn't going.
She wasn't there.
Yeah, answer me, call on me.
She wasn't there. Yeah, it was finally what looked like a debate, even if there wasn't a lot of legitimate content there for the viewers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Biden, did not stumble. He did not confuse the situation.
He's unable to do that, is he?
Yeah.
He's too confused himself.
But he lied his ass. He lied his pants off. I almost said a word that we're not supposed to say on the air, but he did. He lied his pants off. The progressives caught that, but the ordinary voter, a Democratic voter, may not catch that because they don't care about that. They only want to beat Trump.
I don't think they know anything either. Yeah. Apart from their bias, I mean, they're just too poorly educated. They wouldn't know it if it smacked them on the face.
Right. And so Bernie was trying to explain everything, but, Biden did get in one of the best singers when Bernie's talking about Medicare for all. He said, well, Medicare for all isn't helping Italy right now.
Yeah, that was a very good line, and then Bernie's response was even better, I thought. Yeah. Didn't he say something like, oh, no, that was in the next line of questioning. Biden said, I'll put my foreign policy record up against anyone's. And then Bernie said, okay, let's start with your vote on the Iraq War. Genius. That really was. That was very, very good. That was a highlight of his entire campaign, in my view.
Right. Because Bernie is just not an attack animal. It's always my good friend, Joe Biden.
And it's all philosophical for him.
Right. he's a typical Brooklyn. Maybe people in Nevada don't know what it's like in Brooklyn, but that's the birthplace of the neocons. But Bernie they're all Trotskyites. They're all intellectuals. They sit around and read Marx and Engels and everything else and debate the finer points of it.
Did you see where Kristol has a new magazine?
Oh, yeah, he's on a new one.
The other one that fell apart and
The Spectator
went bankrupt.
Yeah.
He's got a brand new, and he's got conservative in the title, so he's still trying to draw in the, and it's...
They should go back to the Democratic Party where they came from.
Well, but that wouldn't help them, I don't think. They have that reputation, and they want that that Trotskyite relationship that goes back to Trotsky,
Yeah, so, Trotsky, a.k.a. Lev Bronstein,
right,
was in Brooklyn, and when
a.k.a. Leo Strauss.
Yeah. And he was smuggled into the Soviet Union along with Lenin. I don't know if they were in the same train, but he was smuggled in, and 200 other Brooklyn Jewish Bolsheviks before the outbreak of the war. But Bernie is the old-fashioned. He likes to read about Trotsky, but he would never agree with all the atrocities that Trotsky actually did. So he tries to downplay that. He's against authoritarianism, but he doesn't tell us how he's going to implement his program without sooner or later becoming authoritarian.
Just like the rest. Yeah,
exactly. One of his aides even talked about putting people in gulags.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
Yes.
It's been a while now. A couple months ago or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did say that.
But
it's for their own good.
You scratch a socialist, and sooner or later it's going to bleed red.
Bleed socialism.
Yeah, bleed commie red, and so that's and it was an interesting debate, and but why do the only people that are for peace? I mean, the good thing in my mind about Bernie is he refused to go to AIPAC, and he talks about the Palestinians. But why do they have to be such loony economists?
I don't know, but I'm feeling really good about things because I see now where I'm going to get $2,000 from the federal government.
Are you? $2,000? All right.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsyth Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Turn this primary from a campaign that's about negative attacks into one about what we're for, because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me, we can only reelect Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's about right. He got that right, didn't he? But I'll tell you, Bernie didn't help himself in that debate. I didn't think.
No.
And I don't know whether it was that his sense of defeat had overwhelmed him, and he didn't have his energy, or just what that was. But that was my take from watching it. You?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. He needed to have a knockout, as underdogs often do in debates. And he bruised Biden a little, but he certainly didn't knock him out.
Yeah, he had that one great line we cited in the previous segment. But other than that, I didn't see it, being of any value to him.
And like I said, the progressive left is just really, upset at him because he's just not an attack dog. They love him, but he's not as aggressive as they would like him to be.
So you're saying he's the best they got, but
yeah, he's not.
But
good
he's
enough.
he's no Elizabeth Warren.
Not. Well, or Tulsi.
Yeah.
I mean, if Tulsi was up there, she would have shredded him.
Right, but she's issue oriented, and that's not going to sit well with them. They won't understand that.
No, but I mean, she's not only issue-oriented. Her whole thing is being the commander-in-chief, and what are you going to do for the country? And she would attack his war record and everything else, his militarism and just about anything else.
Talk about Biden.
Yeah, she would attack Biden. Mm-hmm. And as a woman, and as a young woman of color, she would definitely have a better opportunity to land some blows. Mm-hmm. But that's why they kept her off the stage. Right?
But I think you have to clear that stage for Hillary, because that's the next chapter in this Democrat.
I mean, if he looked together yesterday, he didn't have any serious
he looked
gaffes.
the best I've seen him.
Yeah,
I don't know whether he was medicated. Maybe they put some sort of a psychotropic in him. Of course, I think sometimes he's often in some sort of a psychotropic mood. Don't you think?
Yes, okay. But whatever it took, he held it somewhat together. But then his personality flaws came to the surface.
You got that phalanx of Biden gaffes, Christian?
No, he's not in the booth.
He's left the booth. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get it maybe later. But that's an example of the way his mind fails to work for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he didn't have an opportunity to get aggressive with the voter either.
Right.
Right. He didn't get.
Which is one of his stronger points.
Oh, yeah, that shows how feisty he is. Uh-huh. He's like the old man on the rocking chair. Get off my lawn, you
That's right. It's exactly what it is. I said the same thing about Bernie, though.
Yeah. So we have the geriatric brigade on the left and also on the right. I mean, Trump is no spring chicken, but he's held himself together more than.
Well, he's of sound mind and body, which is more than we can say for either Biden or Bernie.
Yes,
with his heart attack here just a few months ago, and then of course Biden had his
shunt,
hemorrhage,
aneurysm.
He had his aneurysm, and so you can't necessarily judge your presidential choice based upon their physical health, but at some point it's got to kick in,
Right. Yes. So, and then Biden pandered to the women in the crowd by saying he would definitely appoint a black member of the Supreme Court. Jonathan Turley got very upset, and this smacks of affirmative action.
Oh, did he really?
Yes.
I didn't hear that from Turley.
Yes. Yeah. He wrote a letter condemning it, and then he also would have appoint a woman as vice president.
Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't shock our listeners.
No.
We've been saying
I was on Twitter today, and one progressive said I would rather stick my face in a molten lava than vote for Biden. But if Warren is his vice president, I'll stick my whole head in.
Yeah, I think we'd all probably come to terms with that.
Warren is dead to the left now after what she did.
Oh, she's just awful. She was one of the most awful of the candidates.
Yes.
As much as I dislike all of them for various reasons, she was right up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kamala Harris, same thing.
Maybe he'll pick Marianne Williamson.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? Pull her out of her hole wherever she is. Huh? She actually is somewhat likable on a social level.
Yeah. She could talk about love and the love beams and crystals and things like that.
Because the world could use a lot of love right now.
I know, it sure could.
I know that because of the drive I came in on 580 this morning.
What happened on the drive?
Well, there's nobody on the road.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the roads are pretty deserted here in Reno, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't noticed, as everybody is hunkered in and we're all being separate, and Ivanka has a hashtag. Ivanka's hashtag separate together. Is that hashtag separate together?
Is that hers?
Yeah. So we're going to see, because this is suppose they're wrong. If they're right, okay, this is something we have to do. And it's probably going to save lives, but if they're wrong, this is like an elephant getting scared of a cat, a pussy cat, and then stumbling around and falling off a cliff. Because
Well, I mean, even as Ron Paul has observed, I mean, this Anthony Fauci guy, who's head of the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, he's bandied about this idea that it's 10 times more contagious than the common flu, the seasonal flu.
Right.
And there's no evidence of that.
No.
So he's just lying, and he's lying everywhere he goes. Wherever he finds a broadcast microphone, he's lying to the American people. He doesn't know that. We have to be very careful about what we tell the American people here.
And yeah, exactly, and that's what causes panics. If you come right out and blurt things out, you know you're going to cause a panic. Mm-hmm. So the statistics are just not there yet, and you know now they say that they think maybe younger people might be more impacted than they thought by the disease. Only in Italy.
Only in Italy.
Yeah. And
we have, there's nothing to go by. There's no evidence of that. Just someone has noticed an increase of the millennial generation as being affected, but we don't have any.
It could be a statistical glitch. It could be
It could be because we had some hot areas where they all went to, and there's really no basis for that statement either. But I mean, what we do know is that the majority of those who are killed by the disease have an average age of about 80.
Right.
And progressively so as you get older, and regressively so prior to that. So those kinds of things, I think, are reasonably helpful.
Yeah, and there is this, I did catch on the web an article by a virologist that shows that in his estimation, based on the infections on the cruise ships, that he thinks that the incidence of deaths are going to be much, much lower, and they're going to maybe be slightly more or equal to the normal flu season. And if we didn't get into such a panic about it, we might not even notice the blip. Mm-hmm. And so this damage, and what is going to happen to our freedoms and our liberties and the economy when we come out the other end of this?
That's just it.
It's not going to be the same.
No, it's going to be a different world.
We have 9/11, and we still have, NSA and the Patriot Act, and Snowden, and all these things that came out of the 9/11 attack, and now we have this whole different thing. And what is this going to be?
Well, one thing for sure is state and local authoritarians. They love this kind of thing.
Yeah,
because it's an opportunity for them.
Mm-hmm.
To find a microphone and to express themselves in a way that they believe qualifies as leadership.
Right.
Which, of course, it really isn't if you love freedom, but that's how they look at it.
Mm. And so, all we can do is hope that cooler heads prevail and that the data starts coming in a little bit better. But then, how long will young people, the youngies, want to be locked up on the behalf of the oldies? I mean,
is that your own?
Yeah, I mean,
that's damn good.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why you're an award-winning writer, right?
They're asking all these young people to give up their liberties and stay inside in their jobs and their livelihood for the sake of the 80-year-olds and the 70-year-olds. And that might last for a while, but if it drags on, that's going to cause intergenerational strife. And I don't blame people for stocking up on guns and ammo. The lines on that is out of the
any
door.
excuse will do, from my perspective.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, buying a gun is a good thing anytime.
Yeah,
but you don't know what's going to happen when you don't know that you don't really believe the government is going to be able to provide for everybody.
No, and I think that people should ask themselves whether the coronavirus pandemic that we're experiencing is, just been exaggerated beyond comprehension.
Right.
And I think we're going to have greater suspicion of that potential if we get out of this very, very quickly.
When we come back, I want to talk about this brouhaha over whether it's a China virus.
We have a brouhaha?
We have a brouhaha. And the president and people like Tom Cotton keep insisting it's a China virus. Is it?
A lot of people are saying that.
It's sweet. There's no place like it. And as we all know, it's where the heart is. Home. It matters. I'm Grant Brewer with Home at Last, a housing program of Nevada.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. And we were talking about the conspiracy theories going back and forth about the coronavirus epidemic and who's behind what. And I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or not, but it's being treated as such by Washington, D.C., in that I think I mentioned it last week, but to go into it a little bit more detail, scientists in Korea and Taiwan and Japan, as well as China, have been on the air on mainstream television and published papers saying that they believe the virus actually originated in the United States, originated there, but spread primarily out of Wuhan, China. However, even that has a caveat, because some countries have a virus that is unique to those countries and does not appear to have come from China. What they're saying is that, and they say that this is Virology 101. I didn't take Virology 101. If anybody out there did, you're welcome to call in and discuss it. But what they're saying is that there is a tree, and there is branches from the tree. And the only country that there are 5 varieties or halotypes of this virus that have been genomically sequenced. And the only country that has all 5 varieties is the United States. And the other countries only have one of the varieties, and some of them are different between the countries. For example, South Korea and Australia apparently have a variety that did not come from China, according to these virologists. And interestingly enough, Italy and Iran have their own unique halotype.
Oh, that's very conspiratorial.
Yeah, that right there is. Because if you look at the map on the Johns Hopkins Institute page, you've got Iran that has over 15,000 cases and the highest death rate, too. And you look at the countries surrounding Iran, and they have like 15, 20, maybe 100 cases. None of them are in that ballpark. And then you go to Italy, and they also have thousands of cases as well. So is there the possibility of a political, nexus to this? I mean, obviously, Iran and America are not on good terms. And why Italy? Well, Italy is the first EU country to totally embrace the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, which we vigorously oppose, like we do Huawei and the phone companies. Now, none of this is proof. This is all the beginning of some kind of discussion. But the discussion is being cut off completely, by the spokespersons in Washington, D.C., the Tom Cottons and the president. They don't even want to discuss it. Now, what is an element of proof is that in the New York Times in August, it was reported that the CDC shut down the American Biological Warfare Lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland, because they could not contain, because of sloppy containment of the viruses and the germs inside the lab. That is an actual story that you can look up. So that is some kind of proof.
The plot very much thickens there, doesn't it?
And then another interesting thing is that there were 350 American military soldiers in Japan, not in China, in Wuhan, in the same province, for international military games. Now, these are not war games. These are friendly athletic competitions between the militaries of different countries. And the United States usually has Olympic or near Olympic quality athletes in its ranks, the United States military. But this year we did very badly there. In fact, we were mocked. The people were calling us the soy sauce soldiers during these games. And in fact, it is reported that the soldiers seem to be spending a lot of time wandering around the Wuhan seafood markets.
What are the odds, huh?
Yeah. So, this is all circumstantial. I'm not saying I believe it, but I am saying that it's being the hawks in Washington D.C. are not even considering this option, whereas the people in Asia and our allies in Asia, they have become aware of it. Like I said, it's been broadcast on their national televisions, and they're all aware of this possibility. So, we have to stop demonizing China. We have to try to come to some kind of rapprochement. I mean, I don't like it when I hear... I like Tucker Carlson. I watch him just about every night, and I DVD him, catch him later if I can. But, when he starts talking about how the Chinese hate us, because one Chinese hawk got up and said they should cut off the antibiotics from America, We have hawks all the time saying we should do bad things to different countries, and that doesn't mean that the whole government is going to do it. So there's no evidence that the Chinese people hate Americans.
Not the Chinese people.
No. But, even the Chinese government hates America.
The apparatus has no interest. They have they do not like what we represent.
Well,
it's a threat to them. So I would take everything.
It is a threat to them, but is it a threat of our own making or their making?
Well, therein lies a lot of the mystery.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. You could make a case that they are cooperating with the deep state for the same reasons. The deep state doesn't want Trump to last longer than the next 8 months.
Right.
And neither do the Chinese. It's as simple as that. They want to go back to the way it was.
Right. I'm sure they would like that, yes. So, but that doesn't mean they hate America or Americans. That means that they don't like what's going on in the relationship, and they would rather it to go back, like you said, they would rather outlast the democratically elected president, because they figure that, they're like a lot of countries, they're in it for the long haul, and they know that in Western democracies, different people come into office and policies can change. And that's okay. So that's one thing. But does that mean that they hate us or they have animosity? I just don't like us to be using a lot of this rhetoric that we seem to be using that's putting us on a war footing with the Chinese and the Chinese people.
I don't think it's avoidable. Frankly.
Yeah.
I think it's just...
Hey, guys, I want to let you know Bob Gore is on the line if you want to bring him in.
Great.
Okay.
Let's bring him in right now.
Okay.
Hello, gentlemen.
How are you, Bob?
Hello,
I'm
Bob.
fine. How are you?
Good. And my friend Bob Gore here, he's the author of the recently published Everything I Know About Business I Learned from the Godfather. He's got quite an insight as to the financial aspects of this episode we're experiencing right now, and I wanted him to join us today so that we could discuss some of what the bond market might be saying at this point. What's your take, Bob?
Well, I think most telling right now is the European sovereign bond market, which is essentially getting creamed. And the reason I think it's getting creamed is because everybody's looking at these heavily indebted countries whose main market for their bonds has been the European Central Bank. And now with this coronavirus outbreak, whatever you want to call it, scare, and with the economy shutting down, there's going to be no money coming in and lots of money going out, and that's just going to continue to put pressure on those yields.
And they had negative rates to begin with.
Right. So it doesn't really. It doesn't take much of a movement when you're at negative rates. It doesn't take much of a movement in the bond market to inflict really stunning type of losses in percentage terms or whatnot. So, and I'm sure, right now, trading bonds, it's a global sort of thing, but I'm sure right now there's not much of a bid for any of this sort of stuff. I mean, it's fairly simple. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see there's more to come.
Is it a V-shaped event we're experiencing now, or is it going to last, longer than a couple of months, do you think?
Well, implicitly, you're asking me to try to predict how stupid politicians are going to get.
Well, I didn't want to put it that way. It just it's your 2 cents. It's your call. Because I think.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it could easily be a V-shaped recovery here. If they've exaggerated, the complexity of this episode we're experiencing.
Oh, I think they've exaggerating it, and they're doing what they always do, not letting a crisis go to waste, if you want to call it that. They've way overreacted. But I was just driving around Albuquerque here. This business is shut down. That business is shut down. And most of the businesses are shut down or, employ people who kind of live paycheck to paycheck, restaurants, stores, that sort of thing.
Right.
So, a week or two down the road, do we say, going into a depression is worse than anything that this coronavirus can throw at us?
Yeah, well, the Fed is definitely pushing it on a string, but stay with us, Bob, into the next segment if you could.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dennis Patterson. I'm the founder and owner of...
This is Oliver X. Join me and the superstar Janez Carter weekday mornings from 8 to 9 on the Reno Todd Tonight Show on America Matters Media.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm with Robert Gore, author of the recently published Everything I Know About Business I Learned from the Godfather. We have time to talk about that today. But during the break, you were referencing the vanquished immunity that we usually get from this kind of a condition. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if you lock everybody up in quarantine and make everybody maintain social distance and whatnot, statistics indicate that somewhere between 90 and 95% of the people who get this disease are going to live through it, are going to recover. And especially if you're younger, your symptoms are going to be relatively mild.
Right.
But being exposed to the disease and getting the disease and not dying from it carries a huge benefit. You're immune from there on out. If you lock everybody up, nobody gets this kind of immunity. Are we setting ourselves up for an even bigger incidence?
Yeah.
As happened with the Spanish flu, are we setting ourselves up for something even bigger come the fall if nobody's acquired any immunity to this disease?
Dr. Ron Paul has made has expressed the same concern just the other day. And who did you say, Brendan?
Well, there's different people. I don't know if I have the name of anyone, but this was a virologist, John P.A. Ioannidis.
Oh, he's very good.
Yeah. But there are different people expressing these concerns, certainly. And, and the Spanish flu, as we mentioned, subsided during the summer and then came back with a vengeance the following fall. It was even worse the second time around. And but I think the idea is that somebody's going to miraculously come up with a vaccination or a treatment in the meantime. That's so if that happens,
you know damn well if under Trump that's going to happen. Somebody's going to find it, in record time.
They would offer. I think they're going to offer $1 billion reward incentive to
nothing like incentives to make something happen.
Yeah, and but the. Oh gosh, I had lost my train of thought again. But the main thing. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to ask Bob is the effect of this commercial paper window that they're opening up again. How effective is? I mean, they're pushing on a string here. They're going to deploy every possible tool at their discretion, but they don't really have anything left, do they?
I know they've shot all their ammo, haven't they?
Well, I mean, you make it sound like they have an arsenal when really they only have one weapon.
Yeah,
debt.
Just creation of debt. Yeah,
they print up fiat debt. The Treasury is manufacturing fiat debt. The Federal Reserve is buying it from them, and everything else is just a variation on that. How much debt can you cram into a system?
But they do it.
And we did this in 2008. We solved the.
Yep. Yeah, but they paid it back. The banks paid it back. That's always the response to the discussion. But they do it really well.
So this is.
If you can only do one thing, you get really good
I see. Okay. All right.
This is modern monetary theory. Have you heard of that, Bob?
No, Bob's never heard of that.
Oh, yes.
Bob's never heard of anything like that.
So all you do is move the decimal one place over and just print out the money. It's all in the computer. You just hit enter. As I was thinking, you should move the decimal the other way and just hit delete instead of enter.
Yeah. Sooner or later.
Take away. Yeah, I mean,
sooner or later you're going to have to do that.
In ancient times, when the Caesars or whatever debased the currency so much that it became worthless, they had jubilee years when all debts were forgiven. And there is he's a left-wing economist named Michael Hudson. He's writing about how we need a jubilee year to get rid of all this debt, because how can you pay back $23 trillion and now we're going to be dumping another trillions and trillions into it because of this?
I think it's a better than even guess that we're entering a depression here.
Yeah.
Rather than a V-shaped, regardless of, it's going to have to be a very quick exit from this little episode we're going through to avoid depression, I think. I
agree with you. Getting back to debt, though, I have a 22-year-old son, and I tell him, Austin, if your generation doesn't repudiate the debt that my generation has incurred to pay for our so-called entitlement.
Yeah.
If you don't repudiate the debt and just slash the crap out of entitlement, I'm going to be very disappointed in you and your generation.
He placed it all on his shoulders.
There is no way. I listen to all these older folks talking about how much they love their kids, their grandkids, their great-grandkids even. You even suggest, hey, how much would you give up of Social Security so your kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids have a realistic prospect in life, that they're not bogged down in this kind of debt? Well, you can't do that. I earned this money. Well, we've all heard it. You know for years it's been the third rail in politics, right?
That's why I'm a follower of Pete Hendrickson and the cracking the code book, because
we're going to have him on shortly. In a couple weeks.
I don't know. I haven't been able to contact with him. Hopefully we can have him on, but he's doing personal appearances a lot. But hundreds of thousands of people are getting full refunds of all their withheld taxes, including payroll taxes, because they understand the Constitution. And I wrote an article on my blog because the Federalist, which is the society which appoints or tells conservatives who to appoint to the Supreme Court and other federal judges, they don't understand the taxing clauses in the Constitution and the relationship to the 16th Amendment, that the Supreme Court has said over and over again the 16th Amendment did not create any kind of new tax. And yet they still insist that it did, that it created an unapportioned tax on income, or whatever that is. And it's just not true. And so if you could turn, like your son, the young people in this country over to the fact that they could get a refund on all their withheld taxes and put it into gold and silver like people do, and you can go to the Pete Hendrickson YouTube channel and you can check it out, or you can go to his website losthorizons.com, and you could see the reasoning there, and it's just a shame because the libertarian and conservative establishment will not recognize his work. He's been doing it for over 15 years now. And people have been testifying to it and showing the checks that they get and everything else. But, and it's another thing that they're covering up.
And the unemployment, we've just entered this thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
We just as of today, when this show ends, just in a few minutes, all of the unnecessary businesses in the state shut down.
Yeah, I know. Non-essential.
Yeah,
non-essential businesses. That's the word they use.
Yeah.
Is that an order from the
Sisolak.
Nevada government?
Yeah.
He just suddenly got up and gave this order in a conference. No preemptive. There was mass confusion here because the mayor was saying that, but the county and our sister city in Sparks, they weren't going along with it, and all of a sudden the governor gets up and says that non-essential businesses have to close. For the first time in history, most of the Strip is black.
Mm-hmm.
We've never seen that, even in the wars, right? And we've never seen the Strip shut down like this.
And, of course, the casinos are asking for a bailout.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to go over really big.
Yeah. I think the Reno casinos are closing down tonight, a lot of them, and the guests have to leave by tomorrow.
Ours on the south shore of Tahoe are closing at noon today.
Noon today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're hanging on here in our shop. We're hanging on here.
Whatever business I work in is essential.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
To me,
it's like I have a twin.
Essential, I get a paycheck.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to earn any income now. I can't go into the craps tables. Oh my gosh!
Well,
yeah,
there's no sports to bet on. They have a wonderful sports app now, William Hill, but there's no sporting events to bet on anymore.
Yeah, laugh to keep from crying, I guess, is what we're doing here. But the layoffs are just starting, and that's going to be a huge part of this story. So the president has now claimed wartime authority.
Basically, yeah.
Basically is what he's got.
So the War Resources Board, he wants to commandeer the factories to... why did we build so many bombs when we need respirators?
No, because we needed them.
Yeah, sure we did. National defense.
We had to take down Saddam.
You want a $15 million bomb instead of a $15,000 respirator. That makes sense.
Well, it did at the time. It made good sense at the time. Well, we're happy to have Bob Gore with us. We'll have him in for the program from time to time. It was great to have his opinion on things. And how's your book doing, Bob?
It's doing okay, but if you can still get the New York Times online, you will not see it in the top 100 bestsellers.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It's doing okay.
That's good to know. It's good to know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you again next week. We think.
We think, yes. If the governor will allow us to be on the air.